Recording.
Okay, so let me share my browser.
And be
And
careful with your sharing stuff.
no, it's my browser for Nekoma, so it should be fine. That is, if I can share my browser. Can I do this? I can. Wait, give me a sec. Which browser is it? Is which? There we go. So there we go. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Let me put it right here so I can see it as well. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to show you guys what is a chi, pon, and a kun. And we're going to, and with that, I'll explain what I mean by event sourcing. And then we start to do a sketch of what I think it should look like. So Mahjong, pon, glossary, perfect. I mean, it's from Portuguese, but that's fine. I can translate it. So yeah, it's funny because there's a dictionary right for the game. Uh, so there's three. I mentioned before that there are three actions that you can do alongside when the game is running, right? So you have chi, pon, and kun. Uh, First, let's talk about pon. So pon is when you complete a hand, a meld, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
with from a discard of an opponent. Sorry,
Pause.
but the meld. Okay, go on.
Any meld.
Yeah, that's the point. So when you complete a triplet, so it is not a sequence, right? It is the same piece. So like red dragon, red dragon, red dragon. A chi, on the other hand, if I can find it, and not to mistake with chi, because that's seven. Chi is opening your hand, completing a sequence. So that's a minju
I have another question.
from an opponent discard. Yep.
Which opponents discard?
Yeah. So there's a difference. Chi is only the opponent on your left.
So the
Pon,
immediately previous player.
yes. So Chi is from the left. Pon is from anybody in any turn. And then the turn goes back to you. And then it keeps going. So you can skip turns of people if you do a pon. You see?
Wait. Wait. So if there's only four players, so if the discard pile of the player in front of me, if I grab the piece to make a pawn with their stuff, we skip the guy on my left.
You also
Let me
skip the guy in
bring
front of you as well.
yeah. Let me bring an image. I think it will
No, I
help.
don't think so, right?
Uh,
Because he just discarded, so his turn was already over.
No. There's one guy on your left who plays before you. There's one guy on the right who plays after you, and there's someone in front of you who plays
after
between
this
the other
guy.
two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about I stealing, grabbing the piece on the discard pile of the guy in front of you.
Oh yeah, in that case you skip the turn on the of the person on the left.
Yeah, but
On the
if you
right, right? So
on the
I'm here.
oh, it's
I'm here.
anti-clockwise. No, or
Yeah,
it's
it's
clockwise.
it's like this. Yes, the orientation is this, anti-clockwise.
Anti-clockwise.
So if this guy throws a piece, like let's suppose that he throws this, and I have one that I can use. So I pick this piece, and then it skips the turn of this person, and it goes back to me. Sorry, it skips the turn of this person, goes back to me, and then this person plays again, and then him again.
That's pawn.
That's a pon. A
But
chi you
she
can skip. Yeah, because they are discarding here. It's already your turn, right? So it doesn't matter.
oh, that's not
And
written
for
in
the
the thing there. Okay.
yeah, it is not, but it is a rule. The kun is a bit more sophisticated. Do you see these pieces here in the middle?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Do you see that you have four of these here?
Yeah.
This is an open kun. that means that your hand is open, right? As you can see, and which means that I'm waiting for one piece. It could be in this case either another one of these or another one of these, right? Um, and what is happening is I have these doras open. So on the beginning of the game, it opens one of these pieces here in the middle of the piles that you pick pieces from, and this piece is not going to be dealt. So, for example, there is one piece lacking in the game for this one. So let's say that you already somebody already discarded these, and you have two of them. So you should not expect to have one more in the discards piles. You see, because you on the draw tile, draw wall. Sorry, the terminology we're using, because that's already used here, and that's the Dora. Okay.
I'm not understanding what makes pieces on the wall to be disclosed.
What do you mean disclosed?
Yeah, those two pieces that you are pointing at, they are like disclosed. They
They are
are open for
visible.
everybody.
Open. Yeah, they're
Who?
reviewed, right?
Yeah, reviewed. So who made that?
Oh, in the beginning of the game, you flip one of them, so
Okay.
the game starts with one. The fact that it has two, it's because the con is open. So somebody did a con, and then every time you run a con, you get one of here open. You see?
Yeah. And this game.
So why am I talking? I mean, there's also a closed con, and there's the calculation of the Dora and the Ura Dora, which is the pieces below these Doras. So they are used on calculation because they gives you Han, but they don't give you Yaku.
Yeah,
But that's another thing.
wait a moment.
Okay.
The position, the geometry of the pieces in the pile matters.
Yes, that. So for example,
Man,
you can have a deadlock of cons. So for example, if every player does a con, then you are going to unlock four pieces. If you unlock four pieces at once, the game is a draw immediately. And there's reasons for that, but ignore it for now. Um, so the only way you can get four cons is either like three or less players do it, or yeah, three or less players do the four cons. That's one possibility, but ignore that for now. The con is much harder, and there's like two modes in it, right? So it's a lot more complicated. There's also Rome, which is a way to win, right? But ignore those things for now. What I want to tell, why does that and how does that have anything to do with event sourcing whatsoever? Do you guys notice that there are events happening, and those events impact other actions and how the game state is behaving? So, for example, I made a chi, so somebody discarded a tile. That's an event. And then I declare a pawn. That's another event. And then the person makes, and then this turn skips to me, right? And then I discard, which is another event, and etc. So the progression of the game seems to be exactly like progression of states in a string. So my proposal would be for us to make a centralized string of events where we broadcast events for every process, which is every user, and we synchronize those events in the state, like hydrating with this string of events, in a way that we can reproduce not only reproduce the game, like with the all the discards and etc., but as well as with a uh, properly handle with Erlang's message passing the different players engaging in different turns.
aren't we already kind of doing that?
No, more or less. I mean, we're handling the message, but it's a single one, and it's not. There's no centralized string of events.
Well, there's no centralized stream of events because we are not.
Well, technically, the mailbox of the process that is running the game is that centralized stream of
Yeah,
events. It's just
yeah.
not
Yeah,
persisted
sure, but
anywhere.
what was the event before this?
Does that matter? That's the
It
question.
does.
Why?
It's a chi of what? You
I
know that it's
don't.
from the last discard, right? It's a pawn from each player, from each discard.
No, but we know that. The
Do you?
Yeah, if you go to the game.lfa there, uh, well, not
Instead
actually.
of looking, describe for me the action.
Well, it's because the action gives us all the information that we need to make that decision. So it tells us who is
Uh,
attempting to
We
do
have
what.
these.
Yeah, but the
Yeah, but
params,
they
man, the
are. But my
params
point is,
tells you a lot
they
of
are
stuff.
in.
we
Okay,
would
but
have
they
to
are
look into.
enclosed in their action. So this finishes. That's over.
We would. Well, we would have to actually look into the game state for that. The game state tells us the current player, which can also let us know which was the previous player. If
And the next player. And just to clarify, that's not true,
actually
Mageta.
no, it doesn't. It
You
doesn't let
can't.
us know the previous
It
player
doesn't.
if there was a skip.
You will need to store that two on the state. Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna have to store that in the state. But let me just clarify something. When this is a recursive function. Play is a function that receives something from the from the
Yeah,
from
that's
the
actually a
HTTP.
yeah, that's actually a tail recursive loop.
Yeah, so this never ends, man.
I still don't see how this does exactly what I asked.
No, I'm not saying it is a one-to-one, but let me just explain. So when we receive something from the HTTP, we call play. And then what does play do? It keeps waiting for receiving something from there.
Uh, Actually, we call play first, and then we need to route the HTTP requests to turn them into messages that go to the mailbox of the process that's looping the play function.
We don't call play first.
We
In,
don't.
if I actually share my opinion on this design, it
Go for
should
it.
be no. There should be no centralized play, and there should be each player has their own
But this
process.
is each player.
Well,
Each
no,
pl-
this is
e-
a
No.
this will be what each player will be using for its
Okay,
own
there's
state.
no state broadcast. It's just the state of the player.
no, no. There's the state of the entire game,
Yeah.
and then each player needs to be able to say, okay, what's my hand? What's the information that's actually visible to me?
No, wait. I think I'm starting to see what Mageta is saying. It's because actually, the way that we envisioned this in the beginning, this is not what Mageta said. In fact, so the way that at least I was looking at it is each player has a separate process. That's true, and but each player will be sending us actions, and then the play function is the centralized combining thing. So, four players press the button to draw. Okay. So we're gonna pick those three HTTP calls and call play with all four of them. And then
That's
that will keep modifying the global state of the game, and some player will be able to draw and some of them will not be able to draw.
that's not quite how that works. You have the play function, which is looping in the background. It's just a running process, and then you have the HTTP server, which when you establish a session, it should generate a process that handles that particular session. So there would be um, well, I don't know how many processes Cowboy starts, so let's not count that. But there would be 5 processes in the game, right? One running the play function and then one handling the inputs for each player.
Yeah, but the four processes handling the inputs of each player will be telling the play function what they are trying to do.
Yeah, they'll be sending messages to the process running the play function saying, okay, player one just drew a tile, and then the process needs to
Attempted to
respond,
draw a tile.
attempted to draw a tile, yeah, and then the the play process needs to respond saying either you succeeded because it's your turn, so you draw a tile, or you failed because it's not your turn, or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what Mageta is proposing is different than this because what he's proposing is when somebody does something that dispatches like an event that an event that we broadcast to. Yeah, it is different. I don't know if it's better, but it is different.
I mean, we could save the stream of events in the inside of the play loop. Like we can add a field saying, okay, here's all the events that we captured during this play session in
Yeah,
our map, you know.
yeah.
So, sorry. So, in one play, the player one, when the turn is with him, we get the state. Let me put something like this. Uh, Reader, whatever. And then this thing looks at a string, produces a state, gives it to player one. Player one makes a decision, attempts to append this to an event string. The event string, well, with a writer, I suppose, right? It would be a decider, actually, the term. Decider. So they claim to do a lot of actions, and then they intend to do a lot of actions, and each action goes to this decider. They append, and the decider append to the string. If that works, reply to the player, done. Move on. Next player. Next player uh, tries to do an action, and in fact, they'll keep attempting to do actions only when they are ready, right? So they can only perform these things here with some conditions. So, for example, I can only attempt to discard a tile if it's my turn. How do I know it's my turn? Because you picked the state from the string, and the state says player one. Then the player one can finally append other events because the decider will pass through the check, and then it will append like pieces that it discarded, let's say.
Uh, okay.
Discarded.
Uh, Basically, the process running the play function loop is playing the role of the decider here, essentially. Except there's just one decider that all four players talk to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the decider is the unit that has to have a lock, right? It's the thing that synchronizes the state.
Oh, but it kind of
Yeah, that's
locks itself because it keeps waiting after it's done.
No, what I'm saying is it needs to have optimistic locking for accessing the string. Nobody accesses the string directly, right? They just go to the decider.
well, that's basically what the process running the play function will do, right? It's basically a
That
loop.
might be the case. I don't want you guys to think of that. That's my point.
No, it's because like we are trying to understand your proposal in terms of what's already done, right? And that's why Marinho is making the parallel. It's because yeah, the decider, the proposal already exists in a way.
We just don't have the actual string. We have the state inside of the
Yeah,
decider.
the stream is just a data structure.
I
Hmm.
think we can use Minija for this.
That's
We could, but should we?
I don't see a reason
Um,
why. Could you
I
elaborate?
see many reasons why. It has locking, it has state management. How are you going to do this with like recursive functions?
We already
Uh,
did.
yeah,
The
the
string,
Yeah. No, no,
a
no.
distributed string for different
The
offices.
recursive, quote unquote, the recursive lock. It's already done.
The recursive lock.
Yeah. So if you're attempting to talk to the stream, yeah, and it's not your
You shouldn't.
time, it's not your turn, you will not be able to.
You don't talk to the string, talk to the decider, and the
No.
decider talks to the
Okay.
string.
Okay. That's okay. Okay. I apologize. That's what I meant.
So these are one process each. This is one processor. This is one process itself. Man, what the heck?
Yeah, that was weird.
This is one process itself, and this is a data structure.
Yeah, this is a gigantic map.
And this is another process, right?
Um. No, I don't think we have a parallel to the reader.
No,
because
that I know for a fact because this doesn't exist. So
well, yeah. So the decider essentially does the locking functionality, and then if you are allowed to change the state, then it changes the stream and immediately calls the reader, the decider.
yeah, my point is you already gain this data structure and the decider for free if you just do a process with Mnesia, just storing on a table.
Well, you are right. I think you're right.
Uh, do we actually?
I believe
Yes.
so. Like it's more work at this point because you already have a library specifically dedicated to touch the data structure. We made the collections LFA, right? So we already made a lot of work to make the
No,
data
no, no,
structure
no,
be more
no.
easy
No,
to
man.
use.
The point
No,
is
no.
not is my. I'm
The
not
act-
concerned with where like how we're going to store. I'm concerned with the broadcasting of the structure around because it's many processes to read, right? To communicate. It's actually these.
Yeah,
Here's the problem, Algeta. We can't actually broadcast the entire structure.
Omnisia, you can.
No, 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 no. We can't because the entire structure has information that shouldn't be visible to all players.
Why not?
Should you know what's in my hand?
damn.
Yes.
Why?
Well,
Why?
it's the server. It's not the player.
Yeah, I think I don't follow that. I don't
Like
follow that.
it's the interface should know, right? And it doesn't. But it's the server. Why shouldn't it? Like I don't see a problem in knowing. That's my point. And by the way, the string of events is not storing the state of the game. That's storing the things that the users did. So this guy discarded X. This guy discarded Y. Blah blah blah.
But if this guy drew a 5 or a red dragon or
Oh yes, you
whatever,
could compose the yes. Okay, in that way you
Classic
can
problem.
compose the. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. I still think that doesn't matter.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I'm having a hard time understanding that this other approach is better. Maybe I'm
should you
missing
also
something.
know ahead of time which tiles will be drawn in which order?
Uh,
Because
you
the
would
decider has to shuffle the tiles at the beginning of well, we
so
need to
you would
shuffle the
have
tiles at the beginning of the game,
you need
right?
to know what is the tiles on the wall, right? So that could be an event as well. That could be here.
Yeah, but then if you broadcast that, then every player knows which tile is in each position of the wall, so they can infer which tile everybody has.
Man, I think this is a mistake of the what the data structure is presented to the process
No, no, no.
and what is allowed.
I'm not questioning what should be recorded in the stream. I'm questioning what should be broadcast to the players.
My point is I don't see any problem on broadcasting this to the process because the process is locking what you can do
Yeah, so he's
and what you
essentially
can
saying,
see.
Marinho, that the players' processes they receive sensitive data, but when returning to from the HTTP call, we don't send the entirety of that. That's what he's talking
Mm,
about.
Yeah, the HTTP call is just actions, right? Discard these, discard
Yeah,
that.
no, but
I
we
have
need to,
this on my
we're gonna have
hand.
to have responses, right? That's kind of
I
what
have
Marinho
this
is
on my
talking about.
hand. I discarded these. I have this on my hand. Make a chi, make a pong. I stole
well,
this tile.
I suppose if the players don't interact with the processes directly, but actually only interact with an HTTP interface that talks to the processes, that should be
Which
fine,
is yeah,
actually.
which is what gonna happen. Yeah, but I'm still not convinced. Maybe Magetas is smarter than me,
Okay,
so you can
draw
go.
for me then. What's the alternative? Because I really don't see any other good alternative. But please do it
No.
if you can see
Okay,
one.
let me open a browser. I'm not gonna make the argument that it is good, but I'm gonna say that it's simpler. Let me share my screen. Scali draw. Okay. There is some stuff in there. Let me delete everything here. Nothing too crazy, but okay. Okay, so the way that it currently works, I'm not gonna draw what is the like for now the what we were thinking in the future. I'm gonna just say what currently we have available. So there is a process which I'm gonna call the HTTP process, and this is the process. Yeah, this is a process that keeps receiving the requests. So we're gonna have a request here. Okay. Then when an HTTP call is received, we have uh, another process called play. So let's go here. We actually we in the future we will actually send the entire, well, maybe not the entirety of the request, but let's say that for now it is the entirety of the request of the front end. So which player is trying to do what? I'm actually gonna write that. Which player is trying to do what?
First of all, how do you know which player is doing what?
In the beginning of
Which
the
player
game, we're
can
gonna
do what? I
broadcast
mean,
four numbers.
which player can do what? I mean,
No, it's not can, it's is the verb.
so they all try to do things at any moment.
Yes, so you're clicking buttons on the interface, and we need to check if you can actually click those buttons, then they should be doing something or not. Again, I'm not saying this is the best way. I'm just saying this is the way that we intended to be done.
So it's not my turn, and I'm clicking to discard a tile
Yeah,
many
that
times and
will
spam requests.
yeah that will say, okay, we need to identify, can this particular player do this? That's the question we need to answer. And you gave us all the information that we need, which is who you are and what you're trying to do. Then this goes to the play function. This goes to the play function. And the play function knows the state of the game. So that means that there is a gigantic data structure that we call state. State. And only the play process, this is actually a process. I said function, but this is actually already evolved to a process. Only the play process has access to this guy. And this guy has the information that we need to judge the answer for this question. And then when play finishes, play will actually say, okay, return this. So there will be a response. Response.
So let
There.
me bring a hypothetical scenario.
Go
The
for it.
guy on my left discarded a tile that I can use, and I already have two, like two white dragons on my hand, and he discarded the third white dragon. So that is a chi, right?
Uh-huh.
So I can use that tile to make a chi. How would you know that?
Well, because when the discard action from the other guy happened, we recorded that, and you clicked on his piece that will send a request attempting to grab his piece, and then we're
You
gonna
would need
say, oh,
to you would need to inform the UI somehow that the player can do a chi. How would you do that?
um, well, to be completely and utterly honest, nothing that I said is taking into consideration the interface, aside from being a bunch of bunteds.
Because my point with broadcasting was exactly that. Like, the HTTP in that case would, uh, you're not allowed to keep sending commands all the time.
Actually, you are.
You can, but they're useless, right? It's going to block anyhow. But you can use webhooks and just be notified to when you can act. I think that's better.
No, 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 no. There's a thing called server sent events that lets the server push information to the front end.
The server push information for the front end.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean with webhooks.
Yeah, that's what Magenta means by webhooks, I believe. Um, yeah, so, but directly answering your question, Magenta, I have no idea. Like this drawing here is not taking into consideration anything from the interface aside from the capability that it can send requests to us.
And my problem is the following. We're going to have in the future a lot of shitty actions that depend on what was done immediately before or right now, right? So, for example, I'm making a con right now. I'm making look at how hairy it can be. I made a con. So somebody discarded a piece I can use and make a con. But I'm making an open con. In an open con, somebody that can make a chi, let's say, on my right, they can steal my con, and then they can make a chi. So it's a the action is chained in double. You see?
That's like from this diagram's perspective, that's not a problem. It's just a bunch of requests in a particular order. For us, it doesn't really matter at all. What
Well, how
matters
you
though
my
is for the
problem is how you
interface.
notify the players that they can do
Yeah,
certain
that
actions.
question, the answer is I don't know for that question. If we want the interface to allow the user to know that what he can do, then we have a problem in our hands with this strategy.
Which I think you should. Like you should always send like oh, this guy, for example, player 1 is on my left and player 2. So player 1 discarded a piece I can use it to make a chi. I should be notified that I can make a chi immediately.
Yeah,
Some players making a pawn, and there's two players that can make a pawn.
yeah. If
After discard.
if that is a property of our interest, I don't see how the strategy that I drew here can accomplish that. Marinho,
Uh,
we never thought of that, Marinho. I think I was always assuming that you can click any button, and if you know that you can do a chi, you're gonna click the chi button. I was not thinking that we would inform them that they can.
well, they need to be able to see the tile that you discarded, right?
No, but they will. But they would have to click on it. Magetta is
Well,
suggesting like the game, like the Nintendo
like
64.
because the way I see it working is you can only do things when it's your turn, or it's possible for you to do so. Like the fact that you can send things and then the server decides when it's not the case, right?
The server needs to do that anyways, because what if the player is trying to cheat?
Yeah, what if they are not using the interface? What if they are trying to do HTTP by their curls themselves?
Well, your state will be locked anyhow.
No, yeah. So you agree with Marinho that the server, like regardless of the strategy, regardless of the approach, the server must be able to know if somebody's trying to cheat.
Yes, I'm not claiming it shouldn't. I'm claiming that you should propagate the state again back to the front end so they can make decisions about which player can do what on the UI. Otherwise, everyone can spam the browser and send a lot of garbage.
Well, that's true.
That will always be true, though.
Well, it doesn't need to.
Well, anyway, so the difference. Well, this is the diagram. I'm actually done. This is what we implemented. That this is what's in the code. What you're proposing, well, and then again doing the parallels, right? The play function is the decider 100%. We don't have a reader because the arrow that does the backward process is the play as well.
Um,
And the state, instead of being a stream, the state is just a gigantic map. Gigantic map.
hmm. Hmm.
Like, well, I don't know, man. To me, I understand what Magetta is saying because Magetta is essentially saying that. Yeah, but here's the thing: this strategy can accommodate sending some portions of the state
Mm.
back. Do you agree, Marinho? That in the response, instead of just saying okay or not okay, we can also send partial information about the state because the play process has access to all of it.
Yes.
Yeah, but Magetta also doesn't want the idea that anybody can do anything at any time.
Uh, you can block that on this model too, I think. You would just need to add that on the play to send a response send a state every like do webhooks of the things that are happening on the play on the state to the HTTP back. We can do that too.
Um, yeah, but well, again, I'm not gonna claim this is a better way. I'm just this is what we did. Now
Like my
compare.
my only thing here is why would you not do one process per player? Because you only have one input that takes the processes are all clients. What you're relying to be the processes there are clients, different clients in the front end, right? Accessing the same link, and the play is the session of that game.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that is the mental model that I use for this.
I mean, there's nothing preventing us from saying, okay, each player has a session, and that session is represented on the Erlang side as a process. We can do that, and uh,
Oh, that's kind
that's
of
kind
like
of
70% of the way to Mageta's strategy, I guess.
well, yes, but actually that's good because it helps solve the problem of okay, how do you communicate?
Exactly. That was exactly my point. You got it, man.
Yeah, because you need to be able to say, okay, you didn't click on anything, but somebody else did, and their action was valid. So you need to know the new state, right?
Yeah, but if we're gonna do that, then I think Mageta's idea starts to make a lot more sense because we need to broadcast to everybody the new state, right?
Yes, exactly. You need to. That's why you need a centralized data source, right, for all of them.
Okay, I see your point, Mageta. I'm still a little bit skeptical that we should record the events instead of the final folded state, but
I think it's a
Uh,
lot easier to broadcast. Man, you still have the state. I think that's what you're missing.
yeah, we
I'm
can do
just
both. There's no reason
yes.
not to.
It's not a one or the other. It's both actually. You need the current state and the event that you have.
okay. Okay, so I think we can start by spawning players' processes, I guess, because that's not a thing right now, as you can see in my drawing here.
I think we would need to change the play to instead of taking requests. Let me think. Or we can make the play. Let me think. Let me think. The play is what has the centralized state, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Recursively repeating.
basically
yeah.
yeah, it's basically the thing that you're calling the decider. It
Look,
receives
open, yeah,
messages
Emacs.
and
Can you go to Emacs there?
I can, and I still share.
Yes, yes.
you are.
No, now you aren't.
I am not. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, Marinho, just because the plays was in front of him.
So this is what decides, right? I
Yeah,
get event to discard a Actually,
only
these are not events. These are commands, right? I'm getting a command to discard, a command to draw, to declare
yeah,
Richie.
params is the request that I was drawing there. And state on 54, only this function has access to state.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
And then each player would, let me
It,
think.
yeah. Can you open
Yeah,
Ctrl X3 to open a separate buffer on the side? Open handler.lfa. That will also show you the.
Yeah, yeah, I know the handler.
Yeah, but this
yeah.
is the
Right
HTTP
now,
that I meant. Yeah, so
Yeah,
line 39. This is what I mean.
yeah, I got it. So, mhm.
So you receive a call, we have a request, payload, we have the state of the entirety of the game, and then we are just sending, okay, actually, can you please send to the state process this tuple information? In the future, this will be the requests, because right now we don't have front end, so.
So let me see. So this is an action, and then you need to tell the other processes, the other guys, what is happening. So these actions here, they should return also a list of the things that they decided, right? So for example, let me go to actions discard. Action yeah, let's go to discard. That's a good one. So actions, right?
Yeah,
So all it needs here
it's
is
21.
can I do this? I can't. Discard. So this action. So the return of this thing is It's the game loop, right?
Yeah, this is essentially doing the uh, passing the baton to the next player. So, oh, if your ID is 1, the loop is essentially moving to 2 or 3 or 4 or back to 1, stuff like that.
Okay, I thought of something which is you store in the state the PIDs of all the other processes that are running.
We can do that.
But the problem is, what if one of them loses? Like you broadcast, right? And one of them loses the information. So what?
One of them
Uh,
loses. Do you mean like um,
well, there's a solution to that. Instead of sending a stream of events to the players, you actually should send a snapshot of the state visible to that player.
yeah, that's fine.
Because what I was trying to do here is broadcast only the things that this thing decided, right? So this it will only be one at a time. So for example, player one discarded. So it's player one. They successfully discarded a piece. By the end of this, before going with the game loop, you broadcast. Well, you could embed the last action on the state. You could do that too. But still, every process should have access to the state. So you would broadcast the state. Is that it, Marinho?
You would broadcast not the entire state, only the state that
It's
the
particularly
given
interesting for
player
the player.
that the given player should be able to see. Mm,
Yeah, we can do that. But still, you can still lose, right? The packet, let's say, on the beam.
you could, but if you broadcast a snapshot of the state, that's less dangerous because the next snapshot will
Yeah,
have
will
the entire
contain.
information again.
Yeah, you didn't lose anything essentially.
I mean, you lost the chance of doing a action, right?
I guess
Uh,
actually yes. I guess that's true.
I
I
mean,
think.
we could do. Hmm. We could do a periodic refresh as well, just to make sure that hey, did we drop anything between now and 2 seconds ago, or
Uh,
something like that?
man, we gotta be careful to not fall in a Byzantine general problem.
Yeah.
But one option is to make them send an ACK back, but then from which turn, right? So the way I see is to embed a hash, like hash the state, uh, with the action, right? So you embed on the action. So that's a way to do idempotency as well, but in this case, I think it would fit. So you send a hash, and then the player has to send the process for the player has to send the hash back, and then we match the hash.
Why would this fall into the Byzantine generals problem?
This in this case it doesn't, right? But what I'm saying uh, is because you of the synchronization of state, and but there's no election here, right? Still, that's why it doesn't. I think if we had one process to be dealing with which turn it is from, then we could have these issues. But since it's centralized on the player, sorry, on the play, then I don't think there's a problem. Because
Man,
that's always the source of truth, right? That's my point.
Yeah,
in which universe are we living in where Magetta is pitching for event sourcing, man?
It's just the command part of it. That's the part that I find useful. The rest is garbage.
Well, anyway, let's do well. I think we are getting there. Let's change it then.
Which is, by the way, more or less what we already did here. This is already like an event sourced command structure.
yeah. The only thing we're missing is we're not recording the stream of commands, right? We're
And we're
just
not
using it.
doing the broadcasting of the entire state.
Well, you don't do that on event sourcing necessarily.
Go, Mari.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, if we just okay, here's the action that got accepted and processed. If we just add that to the state, we have a log of events, and that's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's
Uh,
the, as Magetta said, it's the useful part of event sourcing, right?
which is the part that doesn't touch the database. Uh, so
I mean, it could if you store the log inside of the database.
Yeah, you definitely
I think
could.
the problem is that it fundamentally mistakes the storage of your data and the state of your data with the state of your application. Those are not the same thing. And that's my problem with it.
Well, anyway,
Okay.
so
So
let's change it then.
so let's make one process. Um, let's spawn four processes alongside.
Where are
When
we
you
gonna do
start
that?
this, I think it should be alongside the game. But here's the thing: when we do that, I think we should get an HTTP first, saying I want to start a session, right? Which is like create a room. Oh yeah, that's probably what we should do.
Well, yeah, that's definitely something that we thought about, but we didn't do that because it's more like let's implement the game first, then we do session handling.
I think you can't ignore the now, to be honest,
Okay.
because they will start to affect one another, right?
Yeah, right
Uh,
now, given the new proposal, the diagram, yes.
so we need to go back to the what calls this garbage again? It's on the main, is that it? Main
No, so no, not main. You go to server, I think. Server
server.
app or server soup. No, it's server. No,
Ah,
it's not this. It's not this.
server app
I think it's
here.
maybe app. Yeah, this is the beginning
So
of it all.
here. So how do we add the new endpoint to this garbage?
No, no, the endpoint is not being added in here. Here we add the port, and
Yeah,
here
it's on
we.
the handler. I remember doing that on Cowboy.
Yeah, so
Wait a
it
minute,
is
what
what you
happened
want to
there?
do is on the handler then.
What happened here, man?
I
This
have
is
no idea.
crazy.
Your LSPs are going
What?
nuts there.
My my Emacs froze. Okay. So here, these are the content types. I get it, but I think it should be somewhere here, right? That I should set the. I need to see Cowboy's documentation.
Yeah, let me also open the
Cowboy,
docs.
Erlang, routing. There we go. How do you do routing? Thank you, useless. This is useless. And it's my time for dinner. Give me a
Of course
sec.
it is.
Elixir, I don't care. Man, how do you do a
No,
simple?
it was there. It was in the server's app. Actually, you actually add the routes in the path match. It's because you can't see it because it's not Erlang. I think it's line
Where's the path
18.
match? Oh,
I
these router compile.
Yeah,
These garbage.
exactly. Yeah, not 18, 17.
Ah,
Look how beautiful it looks. It's a Lisp. Look, Magetta.
it
Aren't
looks
you happy?
absolutely horrible. So what do I add here? Oh, what's the path here? So it's the slash, I suppose, right? This.
Yeah,
I
right
need
now
to
we
call
don't
in
care
the
about it.
handler.
Anything would work, but yes. I think it's the first member. So it's the one on the yeah, it's the one on the left of of that where you are right now. The underscore.
By the way, by the way, I've been thinking about. I read something recently that made me think, and the way people do HTTP routes is kind of more complicated than it needs to be. Like, if you get rid of path parameters, which you can because you still have the query, then you can just use maps, and that's your
Oh, but
router.
yeah, but they love the query parameters, man. They love
No, no,
having
no,
things in there.
no, no, no. Query parameters are fine. You can still have them. You just don't have to have. As long as you give up path parameters, that is using
Path
a
parameters. Yeah, no.
piece.
I meant to say both. Path parameters and they love that as well.
Like, you don't need that because you already have the query parameters, which is a part of the HTTP protocol specifically made for passing parameters around.
You need to put the slash. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I agree with you, Marinho, but we're not gonna convince the industry on that one. I'm sorry, friend. Uh,
Like,
How do I import another handler here?
uh,
Because this is the module, right?
I
Handler.
think you just
This
put
is-
the name of the handler, and you created that
Uh,
name.lfa.
handler is this. It's the module,
Yeah,
and
so you
then
need to
what
create
I
another
find.
module in another file, give it a separate
Uh,
name, and then put it in here.
so session, I guess.
Yeah,
LFA.
session, and then we need to create a session.lfa. Yeah.
Oops. Where's that handler? I'll copy this. uh, I'll call it session handler. I should have named that actually. I'll just call it session. I was
No,
yeah.
just call it session.
Call it
I
session.
think it's that's
Yeah,
gonna
but
work.
it's a session handler, right? That's why I'm. Okay.
It's
So
the handler that is the session handler.
because there might be some primitive that is session as well, so that's why I'm concerned.
Well,
But
we'll see.
okay. Copy, copy, copy.
Yeah, we
I
just need
just
the. Let's
want
just go with the
to.
HTML for this one. I don't really think we need the remaining.
Can I kill you? Okay. So this should be it. Let me see. These things don't exist, so go away. Go away.
Yeah, but just for you to know, in line 21, you see that there is a state there. That's the PID for the play process. If you want to change that, you need to go to the server app.
That's fine. It will pass this game here, right?
Yeah, the game is a process,
Uh,
line 16.
I'll pass a new. Ah, we don't have new, right? It's
Empty list, I think. Yeah. Yeah, but then the state in the everything is gonna be fucked. Yeah.
well, arg, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the return here is can return whatever, right? I don't need to return this.
Mhm.
So I'll send these two, I guess. Are you sure I don't need to propagate back the arg?
I well, we haven't played with that yet, but I don't think so, but maybe we do. Maybe we do. Like right
I
now,
will
we
leave
only
that.
use the browser to actually
I'll state.
uh,
I'll pass. I'll keep going
trigger the
with
entire
this.
process.
So if I spawn this garbaggio, uh, hopefully I didn't show any key that was important there. Um, Personal, no, Nekoma, Mahjong, server, LFA, no, rebar 3, LFA REPL.
It's already working. You should be able to go to the
So
browser and call trash.
if I do localhost, what's the port again?
A 4040.
4040 trash. Hello world, that easy.
It did.
Okay, so while I go eat my pizza, Lemus,
I'm jealous.
while I eat my pizza, please add a thing to add a like create room, like instead of trash, like do a create
Wait,
room
wait,
where
wait,
you
wait, wait,
spawn.
wait, wait. I think we did bullshit. You see on the left that the terminal spitted something? I think
Let me
because the
see.
other route is an underscore, it
Oh
actually
yeah,
went to that one instead of the
it
trash one.
executes both. Oh, probably. So you probably need to change the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
guy of the
yeah.
route.
Change
This.
the change the underscore. No, 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 not that one. No, that's the host
Or oh,
path.
this is a wild card. So probably
Exactly,
this.
man. Yeah.
Well, halt.
But aren't they gonna conflict in there?
Hopefully not.
I'm not. Okay, now it
Why
broke.
would they?
It does. So it does conflict. Eh,
No, it doesn't seem to have conflicted because it didn't go to the first one.
I mean, it's not calling. Oh, yes, it's. Oh, I see, see,
It
see.
called,
So
yeah.
it is. Because I can see when I go to the browser. So it is calling things.
Yeah, so now Cowboy vomited a bunch of things.
Invalid destination. Okay, it's
Yeah, invalid
hallucinating.
destination, I think that's the return, maybe. Hard to say right
Just
now.
halt again. Let me update trash. So trash
Yep.
is this, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, but at
What
least now we are
about game?
calling that.
Okay, game does work.
Yeah, game works.
Okay, but you gotta fix this then.
Yeah, we can try fixing that. Go have dinner. Okay,
Okay, I'll be right back.
Mm,
Ah, stop you. No,
let me open the thing. You need to commit though.
I did.
Oh, you did?
I mean, I just didn't tweet this, but it's a one line change.
Okay, I can change it.
mm.
I'm opening my Emacs, Marin. Just wait a bit.
Opening your Emacs.
Uh, actually, server app. Yeah, it's in here. What am I get to did? There we go. So let me share
Mm.
the screen. There we go. Actually, that's also not what I wanted. I think I'm sharing only Emacs. Entire screen. There we go. There it is. So we need to discover what the heck is going on. So let's run this. And rebar 3 LFA REPL. And then in the browser, we do localhost trash. Oh, the thing. So we need to put the slash game. Halt. Boom. Now we're talking. Okay. So initial call, cowboy stream request process, register name, bad argument, in function send. Then we are having a draw and player 1. Line 37 of the handler. Why are we calling handler in this case? 37. Yeah, why are we going here? What is Magetta doing there? Nothing. I'm confused. Are you confused, Marin?
Uh, what is Mangeta doing there?
Ah, okay. Stupidity, collective stupidity. Boom. Okay. It's the same problem. And it's still calling handler. What the fuck is going on? Did I save this? I did. Oh, this is the wrong one. Double stupidity. Today is not my day.
That's very sad.
There. Boom. There it is. There it is. Now we're talking. So what is Magetta returning there? He's returning.
Mm,
Oh, did you have hello world? Yeah, we did have hello world. I'm a little bit confused. This is a tuple, right?
That's a tuple, yes.
Wait a moment though. We're not returning anything,
We are.
are we? Oh, it finishes here. Okay,
We're,
this is a tuple thing, right?
we're returning a tuple, yes.
Yeah, but there are three things in here. But there are only
Yes.
two things in here. So what gives?
What do you mean?
What? I mean exactly that. This is first of all, this seems to be a list, right?
It's a list, yes.
Where are we returning that in here?
Uh, well, apparently.
Ah, it's here. Yeah. This is this is the thing that Magetta did that I don't think it's maybe it's not correct. Do we do it like
You don't need the quote,
this?
actually. That's redundant. This is already
Yeah.
quoted.
Yeah, this is already quoted. I see, I see. Man, there was a thing. It's a reboot.
Init colon restart, I think.
Restart. Okay, it's restart. Boom. Yeah, now it's an empty list, but this is because of the printing, right? This is because of this print. What are we
Yeah.
returning here? We're returning this to who?
To cowboy, basically.
Ah, and this is the body, right? So this is HTML. Hello world is HTML. Okay. So we are sending a triplet. Is this how you always need to do? What happens if you change the result of this? It's gonna break?
Mm, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
Yeah, because this is essentially like a behavior of sorts, right? So we just implement a few functions and Cowboy hooks them together. Well, anyway, this is the session handler, right? So we need to spawn a few processes. Is that right?
Uh, this is a session handler. Yeah, we need to
We should not be doing using the HTML version for this. I think we should be using raw text.
raw text.
Yeah, because we're not going to return to the front end. Well, I don't know what we're going to return to the front end, but I imagine it's not going to be HTML. We're not doing server-side rendering.
Why not? Oh, right, because Nathan is doing the whole 3GJS thingy.
Yeah,
Because because we want 3D for some reason.
to look cool. That's why. We want it to look cool.
We want it to look cool. Okay.
Uh, so
Mm.
we can remove all of this stuff. And then that's kind of the thing. So do we need all of this nonsense in here? Like all these things? I'm actually confused on what the heck is this, to be honest, to be completely and utterly honest.
Oh,
This is
that's
not a
because
pattern
an
matching.
no, it's because an HTTP server can respond with different values depending on
Yes.
whether on which format the client requests.
Well, yes, but how can we tell it to like, fuck that, just use whatever is available? Which is this one.
Well, you just return one thing instead of a list of things, I guess.
Yeah, but can I do this?
You can just return hello to text in a tuple, I guess. Or rather,
Like
hmm.
this?
Yeah, just return hello to text by itself, basically.
No, but don't you need this tuple thing?
No, if you're just going to have the same handler for all formats, I don't see why.
So you don't need the list also.
You might. I don't claim to be an expert on cowboy.
I'm having a hard time understanding your proposal though, because you're essentially saying that you can just send one. Yeah, but that's what I want. But what about this data structure that Cowboy is apparently waiting for to receive?
If you just like this is if you want to handle different formats, okay?
Yeah.
You can just return one thing at the head instead of a list of things. Like instead of being a list with a tuple where you have a format and then a response, you just say the response for that format directly.
Yeah, I'm still confused, man, because my understanding is that Cowboy, somewhere in Cowboy, they are calling this function and they're expecting to have this data structure there. Am I wrong?
You're forgetting that cowboy is in the bin, and the bin is dynamically typed.
So, so we're just gonna let it fail. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm saying it might actually check the type of the thing and decide what to do based on that.
Is this what you're saying?
That's the first thing I would try, yes.
Init
Hmm.
session hello HTML is undefined. Am I exporting? Oh, I am exporting. So this should be text handler.
You have an extra. Well, that's not an arrow. That's just a hyphen.
Okay, something that happened there. Yeah,
Okay, it
bad
broke.
generator text handler.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Bad
See?
generator.
Yeah, it's complaining about the content types provided.
Hmm. I suppose we would have to look at the documentation then.
Okay. So how cowboy? So let's go to some examples. File server. Well, we should. I think we should try to look to the REST one. That's not what I want. Yeah. Yeah. How do you make the content types provided uh, not care about the? They are clearly using this to pattern match. That's why I was like, are they doing what I was saying? Are they taking advantage of the dynamic types to identify the thing?
No, no, this, okay. That thing there is because you can actually request a content type when you do an HTTP request by adding a particular header, and the value identifying the content type looks kind of like that, okay? It's a string where uh, you have the intended use of this response slash the actual type of the thing, right?
No, no. Yes, but the fact that this data structure is organized in this way means to me that they are pattern matching on this after identify from the header what is supposed to be doing there. And then they call this function accordingly. You're essentially telling them what is the match between data type and this and the handler for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We want to essentially say that for all of them, just go to hello to text.
Does hello to text need um, can't you just inline the body of hello to text in there?
Well, in this particular case, yes, because hello to text handler is small. But that's what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna basically not make it not small, right?
I mean,
You mean?
you could just like, hmm. Hmm.
But how do we say the thing? How do we say okay, just go to that?
Can't you just tail call the text handler?
Tail call the text handler.
Yeah.
Uh,
In- like instead of returning a tuple with text handler request and state, can't you just tail call text handler?
like this?
Yeah.
Sure. No. No, no,
Wait, the
no, no,
thing
no.
is wait. The thing is called content types provided, right?
Yes.
Content types provided, and that's being used where exactly?
Nowhere. That's what I'm saying. This is working like a behavior, you know? So
What if
you
you just don't export that?
but then how will Cowboy know that there is a custom thing called text handler that it should call? It was using the content types provided to know that.
Okay, what does the handler look like at the moment?
This handler?
No. The place that's using the content types provided is defined anywhere explicitly, is it?
No, it is not. It is not. It is not. It is not.
Okay, let's see. Uh,
Yeah, so in here we pass a module to it, and the
you
module
pass a module.
I think the module needs to have a particular set of functions in order for Cowboy to know what to do, such as the init.
Can't you just not provide the content type provided? It would be very strange if there was no default for that.
Okay, so let's not provide that. Unused. There.
Hmm. A callback specified in content type provided to is not exported.
And this is done in the Cowboy REST, apparently.
A callback specified, but it's not complaining that content types provided is missing. It's complaining that we should export something that we're not.
Well, isn't that the same thing? What do you mean?
It isn't, because it could be that we're missing something else. Uh,
No,
Let me
we just
actually open the cowboy docs. One moment.
we literally just remove the content types provided, and now it's complaining that it's missing content types provided.
No, it's complaining that something that the content type provided is specifying is missing.
No, it's literally saying missing callback. No?
It's missing to
Ah, no,
HTML2.
no, you're right. The a callback specified in content types provided is unexported.
So we
Yeah,
need
but
to
we don't. Yeah,
export.
but we don't have anything specified in content types provided.
Well, but it's saying that we're missing a to HTML function apparently.
No, let's rename our thing.
And it needs to be snake case because Erlang.
Damn. So the default is to call to HTML.
I mean, that makes sense, right? So app server after all.
Server-side rendering, folks. Anyway, so now let's spot. But I have a question though. Uh, where are we gonna be saving all of that stuff? Like,
Saving what?
yeah. So how should I say this? This function needs to return, right? This function.
Yes, it does.
So we cannot just do the trick of be calling ourselves recursively to keep state, right?
No, you need to like HTTP servers are supposed to be stateless. Like they can sit in front of something stateful, but the server itself is supposed to be stateless.
Sure.
Which means actually that the proper way to do it, if you can call it proper, would be
To use Mnesia.
no. We would need to somehow identify who is the player making this request.
No, but there's
Uh,
no player. That's what I'm talking. When we first load this for the first time, there we have nobody. So I'm the first player trying to join the session. I don't have a PID. You don't know me. So what I think we should do, we should share. We should do a spawn in here, right?
yes,
But the
yes, we
problem is
should.
that we need to record you somewhere. Otherwise, we're gonna keep creating processes ad infinitum. We need to save
We
that. Oh, this player process is now available there.
Yeah, we need to somehow generate an identity for the player. We need to send that identity to the browser so that it can be reused on subsequent requests. We need to spawn a process that's tied to that identity, and we need to somehow be able to check if an identity,
Everything
well,
that you
which,
said is doable aside from that last step that you're about to say.
uh, well, we could define a name server that's basically which is a process that's basically responsible for keeping track of which sessions belong to which PIDs
So it's
or
a
vice
database.
versa.
It's a process that is working as a database.
It's more like a map actually.
Oh, database. It's recording stuff for future use. Okay. Um, so what we do? We do that in here maybe. Recorder
No, no, name server. That's the proper terminology.
name server like this.
Yeah.
What is the semantics of this name?
A name server in the context of security is a server that's responsible for assigning unforgeable names to entities and doing that securely so that people can't just claim that, oh, I have this name that I made up. Like, I shouldn't be able to fool the name server or the rest of the system that relies on the names provided by the name server, you know?
That's terrible name. That was one of the worst pieces of lore I ever encountered. That all of that responsibility and the brilliant name that they came with is name server.
I mean, it's a server, and its purpose is to provide unforgeable names. So it's a name server.
Yeah, but the whole point piece that matters the most, which is unforgeable, is not in here.
Well, that's assumed because we're talking about security.
Well, I guess if you assume that, but that's not being assumed. We're not talking security here. We're talking about a game thing. Ah, man, doesn't matter. I'm not gonna like naming is hard. I understand, but they were not doing their best. I have a question though. I have a question. Should we do this? What do you think?
We could. We definitely could.
What's gonna be the name of the function?
What's gonna be the name of the function? What about name server?
Actually, the name that was out, by the way.
Sorry?
what have you guys done when I was out?
Yeah, we discovered a problem with the whole thing not working. It was just stupidity,
Mm-hmm.
and and it's not
Mm,
name server. And now we are making storage, essentially.
Wait, storage.
Yeah, we are making the entity that will record PIDs.
I suppose we could use Minigia for this. There's no reason not to. It's just, well, we cannot. We don't.
Wait. Repeat again. Storage for what? I didn't follow.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Okay, okay. Here's what we need to do, Mageta. Okay, we're going to start the game, which means we bring up the server, right?
Yeah.
Then we make a request because we want to join the game. So we open our browser and point to the address of the server, right?
Yeah.
And because we're joining just now, we're not authenticated yet, which means we need to say, okay, we need to
hi.
generate an identity for this browser that just hit our server and wants to play Mahjong. We need to spawn a process to handle the session belonging to this identity, right? Because, well,
Yeah. I mean, we
we.
don't need to do those things now, but yeah.
But here's the key: because this is an HTTP server, it's stateless technically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means we need to have something outside of the HTTP server handling the association between the
Which one
session
is?
identity
Yeah.
that we generated and the process PID, the process identifier for the
Yeah.
handler of
Need
that.
a you need a table containing
Yeah,
the
it's just a
privileged
glorified map essentially.
yeah.
Yeah. So the first idea that came to mind is let's make a process that keeps looping itself and recording that.
No, but wait a sec. Like, do we need to do that now? Because here's what I'm thinking. How can we test this? Like do the entire flow, right? So assuming Nathan does something on the front end.
Well,
Uh,
if that happens, well, we also discovered that that took a
mm,
little bit of time. We discovered that you can just have one handler instead of having HTML, JSON, and text. You can remove the specification if you have a single two HTML
oh
one.
yeah, it was just matching on the content type. But
Yeah,
okay.
so Nathan's payload is gonna be here. So my understanding is that this payload will inform us, do we need to do a spawn or do we need to redirect this request to its dedicated process with a process ID? And then we switch that. So, oh, this guy is new. Let's do a spawn for him. Oh, this guy is actually playing already the game. So let's push that to his dedicated process. That's my understanding.
I mean, sure, but is that a thing that gives us any benefit of doing right now?
Well, you said that right now the ability to run the game is entangled with the whole spawning processes.
Yes, but that's not one that I meant. I meant making a room spawning the processes, but you don't need to keep a table of all the processors, of the processes. You just have one. You just assume that.
But who is recording those previously created processes?
Oh, right now nobody. You just send and assume it connected. Oh, I lost the value. Well, start again. Yeah, man, it's just for testing, right? Otherwise, we're gonna keep like. Here's what I don't want. I don't want to do minutia. To just make the. I want to do a. So why did I mean what? What did I what? Sorry, what did I mean when I said I think it's entangled, both of them. Because if we change the way that the processors communicate with the play, then the request too will change for each one of them, and the broadcast as well. So I think it will impact on that regard. But on the rest, I don't think we need to worry with right now.
Okay, so let's go, Mageta. I think it's you already have something in your head. I can tell. So I think it's better for you to be typing.
Okay, did you push anything?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay, let's go. So,
Yeah, but if we're not gonna do the storage, line 18 can go away.
um, I was thinking of actually, yeah, let's deal with only one for now. And I was thinking of doing two different endpoints to do that, but okay. What did I do here?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Yeah. No. But you also removed some hashtag. Oh, that's fine.
This. Whatever. I'll
Line
keep this.
18 can go away. Line 9 can go away.
No comment. Line 9. Also
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. We don't need that.
What I meant with session is to spawn the servers, the processes
Yeah, no,
on
but
this.
that's exactly what we were about to do. But then I asked, okay, we're gonna spawn these. What are we gonna do with them? Who is gonna do anything with them?
What do you mean, man? You're still going to call those processes.
Who? How? We're gonna return that to who?
You open them, and then you send to the front end a number, and then the front end gives us back the number.
Ah, okay. So the
That's it.
front
Like
end
that's
does the
nice.
storage.
Yeah, man. It doesn't need to store, right? It's just a state, right? If it loses, whatever. Like just kill everything and start again.
Okay.
So what was the so these name servers to give a idea of what of the
No,
process
no.
that's calling this?
Yeah, the idea before was the name server would be like spawning the process and it would be saving it for future use.
Uh, I wonder if that's actually necessary.
Well, in Mageta's idea, it's not, right? The front end will just like it's their responsibility to know themselves, I guess.
No. I mean, is it an issue if we spawn multiple processes for the same user?
That sounds wasteful.
That's that sounds incorrect. I mean, we should probably forbid that actually.
Because here's what I'm thinking. The player is going to make their actions by doing HTTP requests, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't need a process to handle the input specifically. We only need a process to actually keep broadcasting the state of the game back to the front end for the player to
Yes.
see.
I mean,
So is that a problem that,
we do need inputs as well.
well, yes, but they will not be handled by the player process. They'll be handled by the player making HTTP requests, right?
Um, mm, yes, but the HTTP requests they should go to this thing here should route to whatever the process is for this player. So what I meant here is like
Why can't it go directly
line.
to the play loop?
Because it's in charge of because each player will have its own state, and it's in charge of that state. Is in charge of that process to know what it can do and what it cannot do.
Doesn't the play need to be able to know that as well?
In the players, the
The
process for the players need to decide through the player. Yes.
No. I mean, the process that holds the game state, the one that's called play currently. Well, the function is called play, and we use that to spawn the process. The one that you call the decider in your diagram.
Yeah.
That needs to know if a player tries to make an action, it needs to be able to tell, okay, this action is allowed or it
Oh
is
man,
not.
that okay. I see now why we are miscommunicating. Okay, so here's what I meant, and that was my intent. Looking forward to this, that you have. Let's go back to the drawing real quick.
Okay.
Hopefully, it will make sense. Uh, where is that? Ah, here. I think I understood the confusion. So here,
You
uh,
are okay. I see the drawing.
so here's the thing. We get a event, right? So we get an HTTP thing. And then let me make that here. So HTTP. Actually, I'll call it handler, whatever. Let me increase a little bit. So handler gets an HTTP request, right, from the client, the UI. And
Hmm.
then it says, okay, this is a request. This is a command from player one. Send it to this process. And then this process here, it's now in charge of knowing what this player can and cannot do. But the decider will simply say, this action here. So what's the current state, right? So with the current state and this action that I'm trying to perform, that I should have already validated here. Oops. That I was thinking of validating here already. Do this, and then it checks on the with the other players, synchronizes that with the state, and locks it and writes to whatever. And it's not going to be this string. It already has a recursive thing, right? That's it.
Well, wait, but then the decider will ask for the state of everyone. He's not gonna have it
No,
already
no.
within him.
Just for example, imagine a pawn. For example, multiple players can call a pawn.
Yeah,
So you need to lock the possibility of you getting a pawn if somebody else did already. Otherwise, you
yeah,
might duplicate a piece or whatever,
yeah.
right?
But that's the decider's job.
Yes, but the intent to the possibility to make a pawn is here.
That's true. That's okay.
Why?
Well, because
Do you have pieces to allow to make a pawn?
ooh,
And here
wait,
is,
wait a moment, Magito.
can this player managing the state right now? Can this player make a pawn?
No, 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 but that's confusion because you said that the player's one process has the capability of informing, well, can this guy do a pawn? But it can't know
What
that
I'm saying is
because
that there are
that would
two levels
require,
of decisions
yeah,
here,
yeah, but the pawn specifically requires multiple players' states being like combined, right?
which is a
Because
state issue,
yeah, but that
right?
means that player one process cannot know.
Yes, that's exactly why I'm saying to decide this on the decider.
Okay.
Let me make this clear again. So the distinction here is there are actions that you should verify on the player, and there are actions that I think you should verify on the decider. Why? Because they only concern the player and the current state of the player. So, for example, on the pawn example, there are two checks that you should do. The first is, can I make this pawn with the hand I have? The answer is yes or no, right? Who checks that? Tell me, Lemus.
Player one process.
Doesn't need to know anything else about any other player.
That specific check can be done individually, so no.
Exactly. Does Can you make a pawn because of can you make a pawn and has any other can you make a pawn so some player has made a pawn, declared a pawn. Can you make a pawn as well? The answer is no, right? Who decides that?
Uh, each player's individual process?
No. You can't. Otherwise you would need to communicate with this guy, this guy, this guy, and it will be like a mesh, right? Each like and all trying to communicate with each other. Who decides this is this guy because he has the state of everyone.
Oh, you're talking about the other criteria for the pawn, which is to remove stuff from the discard pile.
No, I'm talking
Oh.
about the um, man. Okay, the nature of a check, is it requiring me to have knowledge of all the other states that are happening right now? If the
Some
answer
actions
is no,
require that.
yes, those actions are here because it's already the centralized state. This
Okay,
is
so
only my state.
I see. So our proposal is that we do checks that can be done in individual manner in each individual process, and the decider does all the checks that require having a holistic view.
I have a question.
Go. I
Why do
can
we need
justify why, but go on.
why do we need to bother with the players one, two, three, and four processes?
Because they can also interfere with my action, right?
But the decider is already serializing the actions because, well, it's Erlang. The decider has a message queue. It's a queue. It will naturally serialize the messages that it receives.
So you're saying that the order will be already implied here.
Yeah, I also have that understanding that the queue,
No,
like we are
sure, but it
exploiting
will
that.
have to. Sure, but you can still get the check on you can still get the message, and you need to reject the possibility of you getting the message for player 3 trying to do the same action as player 1 when they cannot.
Which the decider will need to be able to do anyways, because there might be malicious clients.
That's fine, Marinho, but the point is that doesn't alter anything. The role of the decider, it is still deciding to manage state, right? How it will do it doesn't matter. My point is there are checks that it should not be doing on there. Like, for example, checking the serialization of the event uh, is clearly a decider task. That's not something you should check on each player.
And I think it's better for us to just like let's trust Mageta's instincts and let's try to write something.
No, man, no. Wait. No, I don't want you to trust me. I want you to agree or disagree. I want you to understand what I'm saying and disagree if you disagree.
Yeah, my current understanding is you want to split check responsibility between checks
Yes,
that can be
why?
done
Why?
by.
I think I see the problem, actually. I think I see the problem. The problem is that the handler is in the wrong place. Or rather, you're missing a level here that makes the layer of players between the handler and the decider unnecessary.
Okay, you're gonna have to elaborate on that.
Okay, you have the handler, right, which receives
Mhm.
requests from the outside world,
Mhm.
but who is actually making the handler do things?
Who is
Who is
making the
making
handler
the
do things?
client?
The client, yeah, we have 4 clients, one for each player, right? They are not in this diagram.
Uh, well, they are. You don't know, right? They're just simply requests here.
Yeah, we're assuming there can be multiple clients, malicious
Well,
clients, doesn't matter.
you in fact you should have a stable connection for each, right? You can make that. So one stable connection per each guy. So these, and each connection is a two-way connection, right? So you receive information and you send it back, and then this guy routes which one is for which, whatever. I don't
Yeah,
know how to do that on Erlang yet, but that's where you're gonna discover. Probably you can, but
yeah, probably you can. But anyway, Marin, do you still see a problem now?
Yes, because here's the thing. You have the browser of each player, which has the UI, and the UI does need to do all the checks that Mageta mentioned of, okay, here's my hand. Can I actually do this thing? If I can't, then I shouldn't make the button clickable or whatever, right?
yes, exactly. So for example, I somebody discarded. Can I make up chi? Well, goes here,
But
goes
that's a
here.
responsibility of the front end. It shouldn't be a process in the bean.
Why should it be the front end?
No, but that's not true, Marinho. In order for the front end to know, oh, should this button be gray or not, it needs to receive data from us.
It does, yes.
No, currently it doesn't. That's why Mageta is proposing to have like encapsulated smaller pieces of the state for each player that we can expose to the front end.
And I don't
That's
disagree with that. What I do disagree with is saying, okay, should there be another layer of processes between the handler and the decider, given that we already have the clients uh, doing those checks on the front end?
my point is that I don't think they should be tracking that on the front end. They should try. They should only enable those actions if these guys tell them that they can.
Yeah, I also don't like checks on front ends because that can be maliciously exploited.
So
No. But the check
it
on the
would
front end is not enforcing the rules. It's just showing the player which actions the decider is expected to accept
let
or
me make an
reject.
example here. I think we should have a state diagram, but think about this. So this guy here is player one doing a discard. Okay.
Yeah, okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
So they are discarding a piece, and player two is right next to it anti-clockwise. So okay, this guy is discarding, so it goes here, goes to player one discard, synchronizes, fine, and then new state broadcasts. Everyone is now aware of the changing state. Player 2 notices that he can do a chi, the process. autonomously with the new state looks at the hand and says, I can do a chi, enable this action back, and then it goes here, whatever, with the stable connection, and then sends to player 2, the process for the player 2, a notification saying, I can make a chi. Do you want to do it? And then if they say yes, go here back, player 2, chi. Decide, broadcast, go back. State.
Yeah, I still don't see why the actions coming to the handler have to go through those 4 processes.
Yeah,
My point is to separate each, to represent isomorphically, represent the processes that you have on the front end with back-end processes that autonomously check each themselves. That was the intent.
I have a question.
But why?
Wait. Before we go to the why, I have a
Why
question in
not?
this particular example, so you don't lose a thread of thought. What happens if you're trying to the player one is trying to discard a piece that in the future player two is going to use for a chi, but player one should not be allowed to do this card right now? What do we do?
Wait, but player 1 should not be allowed to do
Yeah,
a
it's
discard
not
right
his
now.
turn, and the guy is using a curl instead of doing via the front end. And then he's trying
Wait,
to discard now, and it's not his turn. What
so
should happen?
it's not his turn. The guy is trying to do a discard. Well, it will hit here, and then it will say, can I do it? This is player 1. Can I do a discard?
Player one process doesn't have the information to judge that.
It does. That's my
Okay,
point.
so it has global state information there.
It has its global information,
Yeah, but
right?
it's
Is
not.
it
What
my
if that,
turn? My hand?
Knowing which player is supposed to be playing is not his information.
Well, it is relevant information for it to make decisions.
it may
Exactly.
be out of sync with the decider though?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a second concern, but I want to stress this. So, Magetta, are you proposing then that any piece of information that matters to make a decision on the player's scope should be in the player process, including global information?
I don't know what you mean about the global information, but this is
Knowing
the kind of.
knowing which player is supposed to be playing is part of what I'm calling global information. Okay? Does that make
Yes, you
sense?
would need that to make any judgment, yes.
Yeah, so because that's required to make a judgment, all players' processes would have contain that.
They should, yes.
That's not a decider's responsibility then.
Well, the decider, well, it is still to know which player is the turn is the decider's responsibility.
No, but in this particular case, who would blow up? Player one's process or decider's process?
Let me roll back.
Okay.
Who knows what is the source of truth? This guy, no one else.
Yeah.
So I go here and I say, am I the current player that can do commands? No. How do you know? Go here, check, get the state, whatever.
Oh, okay. So,
And I the one that and I with this state, and I the one that can do that? No. Deny.
okay. So
The state is still
players'
here.
processes can.
Why can't the decider do that if the decider already needs to know that anyways?
And then my point is, you don't need this. You can like here. You can do this. You can do this. That's fine. But then you're making this bloated thing make decisions for every hand, make decisions for every hand all the time.
But it will need to do that anyways.
It needs to synchronize the state, not making player decisions.
Yeah.
No,
So
no, no, no.
go, man. Go ahead and go.
No. What it needs to do is, it needs to do 2 things. It needs to receive messages from the players trying to do actions and either accept them or reject them, right?
Which is
That's one thing.
synchronizing state.
And the other thing is, it needs to say, okay, I accepted an action. Here's the new state of the game, tailored to each player's view, so that player one cannot see player two's hand or whatever. It needs to flush that back to the front end somehow, right? That's also synchronizing state.
With this synchronizing state with the front end, yes.
Yeah, I
But
don't
that's
think that.
literally all that the backend needs to do, no?
No, yeah, but it's more of an organization perspective, Marinho. What Mageto is proposing is, yes, we don't need this per se, but the benefit is that it's better organized. Like the scope of each thing is better well defined instead of being just like a bloated main function.
But then we'll have to replicate logic between the decider and each of the players, right?
How?
Well, the decider needs to know, okay, it's player one's turn, therefore player two cannot act, right?
The
But then each of the
decider needs to
processes
know
also.
it's player one's turn, but player two cannot act. Yes, okay. And what's the other?
But then, if you have the player 1, 2, 3, and 4 processes, they also need to know, okay, it's player one's turn, therefore the player one process
It
needs to
needs to
know that
query
it's.
the decider and say, whose turn is it? Is it mine?
Yeah, so the separation of responsibilities in this case, Marin, would be the player's process would do the checks that only require individual hands. For example, calling a Richie,
But
right?
but the front end can do that.
No, forget the front end being able to do that. Forget it.
No, no, no.
Forget it.
Why? The
Because that
front end is
doesn't
part
matter
of
for
the
us,
system.
man.
But it's part of the system.
Of course it can. It is part of the system that somebody can avoid and use curls. Fuck it. Fuck it.
And we need to be able to handle the curl case, which is
And
why
for me, front end is just one thing. Receive what the arrangement of things and put that on a screen. That's
Exactly.
it.
They don't do checks. They don't do shit.
if it doesn't do checks, then how does it know that this button should be clickable so you can do a,
No, but
Because it
a
those are
thumb or
receives a
whatever?
yeah.
state
That's just
saying
that's
you cannot do this, and it doesn't do that.
yeah. The backend is saying you cannot do this, and it's just painting with different colors. That's it.
For example, can I make a chi? It doesn't ask that. The backend notifies the front end saying you can do a chi.
You can
Do
do
you
it, Chi.
want to?
Yeah. So anyway, so for going back to my example, of the calling a Richie. So I tell you as a backend, you can call a Richie, and then they press the button call Richie, or they do a curl for call Richie, and then you don't need anybody's hands information to do a call of a Richie. So that will not be duplicated. But I agree with you that there is some pieces of information that would have to be keep exchanging between the player's processes and the decider, such as which player is the current one.
Man, my concern is literally this, and I'll be very clear on that. There are a bunch of actions that are intertwined with each other, and they require multiple synchronizations at the same turn. So, for example, I'm discarding, I need to pick your piece, and I need to decide that, right? And those are all actions that you send back and forth. How do you do that in this way? Describe that for me right now, like with the play.
Wait, I
Like you
didn't.
have a
I got
handler
distracted. Go.
targeting the play function. How do you handle right now that there's happening a draw with the player on the left, and I can make a draw and I can steal the piece?
That is being synchronized via the queue. So if somebody is drawing and that action is going to forbid whatever the second player is intending to do, we're going to first process the first action, which is changing the state and drawing from the wall and stuff. And if that for somehow forbids the second player's intended action, when that message comes to be received in the queue, we're going to deny that. That's everything that we do.
So you're going to receive two messages at two different times.
Could be many messages.
Whoever Okay, ignore many, just focus on two. So you receive, because it's a chi at the example, right? So you can
Mhm.
only have two.
Mhm.
So left discards, right, which is me,
Yeah.
playing on the right, uh, presses draw. You will need to first inform, like validate the draw,
Yes.
the discard,
Yes.
send it back, then expect it to send again. So the front end is now actively, um, I guess that's invalid.
No, no, no.
You
Wait,
can
wait, wait,
still,
wait. I think I see your point. Marinho, try to see if I'm going crazy. Right
you can
now, the
still
way that it works, if two players click two buttons at the like one immediately after the other, uh, we won't be sending to the front end the updated state that tells them what is available between those two messages because they are kind of in the queue already. Is that correct?
because they are kinda in the queue already.
I
Yeah.
didn't
So
follow what you said.
I let me give you an example. So I click, I do an action. It doesn't. I don't know Mahjong well enough to make a concrete example, but I do an action. And let's say that my action allows Mageta to do an action out of his turn. Okay. So when let's say that I click the button to do my action, and then Mageta, I don't know, maybe it's Mageta. Mageta is the one on the next turn. He also clicks a button to send an action. When the first action is processed, right now we are not sending to the front end what are the available new actions for all the players after the action, right? We're not sending that.
You
So that's
have
something
to, yes.
exactly. But I don't know if that's gonna break the current like.
You're going to have. I mean, the way it is right now, the second action cannot happen until it gets notified that it can. That's my point.
The
So
second
you will.
action.
Sorry, my voice. Sorry, I'm dying here. Um, forgot what I was saying. Okay, so I discard a tile. Okay,
Mhm.
player on the right now is available. How do I know? The front end doesn't. It will not check. It doesn't care.
Mhm.
I don't want Nathan to be worried with that. That's my
Mhm.
point.
Yeah, he's gonna
Because I
have to
think
re-implement Mahjong.
yes, exactly. Like you do it
That's
twice.
kind of that.
Which
That's yeah.
so what I want him to do is he gets a flag saying you can do a chi with that piece, and here are your options to do a chi. So let's suppose that it's discarding. Let me explain further what I mean. You have two pieces. What is a chi? First of all, let me draw here. Let me copy because I know I will. So I have these.
Classic Mageta.
So a chi is a triplet, right?
Uh huh.
So let's suppose, uh, actually, a pawn. Sorry, a chi. This cannot happen because there's only four of the same. So this is a pawn. So you have this, and this is a. Let me type what it is. Red. That's not good. One ping. Um, three ping. And this is going to be uh three ping. Oops, three ping. Yeah, that's good. And a four ping. And this is a two ping. Do you see you can form two melds
Mhm.
with this?
Mhm.
Either here or here, right?
Mhm.
So this is the kind of thing I don't want the front end to calculate.
Yeah, we already can
So
calculate that.
we can, exactly. So this player is discarded this. It's now his wall. Sends a thing, handler, whatever, decide, whatever, sends back a state. And then the decider now has to know, oh, player two has this hand. They can form this meld and this meld. Oops. I'm sorry. These and these.
Yeah,
So
that
send
would.
these
Mhm.
combinations, these possibilities for them. So the front end makes a pop up where they click. Maybe not a pop up, but anyway, they make two buttons where you choose which one you want to form the meld with, and then it combines this and then sends another call, right? So it's three requests in that case. So sends first the thing to discard. Uh, the server sends one back to this. with this information of what it can do, and then it decides if it will do it or not. Whatever, something like this.
Yeah, I think we are all on the same page. I think the only thing that Marinho and I were not convinced is about the benefits of having separate processes instead of having a quote-unquote bloated decider. That's the only thing that we are in disagreement, I think.
I
Mm,
think it will be hellish in the future to maintain, but if you guys want to do that, I'm fine.
Hellish to maintain.
Yes, because you're not looking at the hand, at player specific actions and uh, combinations of the different actions from players separately. You're doing both at the same time on the decisions, which is this here. So in each one of these, you now cannot separate. You need to check the current hand plus what's on the other player's hands
Yeah,
all the
I
time.
that's what I was talking about in the previous session about making those. Oh, I need actually to confabulate what are the available moves for everyone. I want to make a function that does that, which is going to put in the def action macro. And then,
The my in my mind, it's easier to do a bunch of small verifications than a bunch of big ones. Well, less verifications but big ones.
what are your
hmm.
thoughts, Marie? Like, I kind of understand Mageta's point. It really makes a clear separation between things that I appreciate, but I also understand Marinho's point that we're gonna have information already available that we're gonna have to spread it out because we need to, not because
Hmm.
like
Okay, I have an idea.
go for it.
And this may sound crazy, but hear me out. There's no reason why my point and Mageta's point cannot coexist because actually there are two different concerns here, okay? One concern is a player is trying to make an action. There's an action coming from the front end, right?
Mhm.
That can go straight to the decider, flat out. Another
Okay.
concern is the decider decided that the action was valid, so now there's a new state and it needs to be broadcast, right?
Mhm.
When that happens,
Wait,
um,
broadcast, you mean sent back to the handler, right? That's what it means.
sent back to all the players, not just the
Oh.
one that
Well,
Yeah,
that
doesn't
made
need
the
to be
action.
doesn't need to be all. Okay, the new state needs to be sent to all the
yeah.
players.
He's trying
Yes.
to combine your idea with his idea, Mageta. Go on,
Well,
Marie.
we're gonna have to do that anyhow. So far.
In that case, maybe the decider should just know, okay, I have these processes. Player one has this process, player two has this process, whatever. I'll just say, okay, I made a new state because I accepted an action. I will compute um, which parts of the state are visible for each player, and I'm just going to dispatch them to whatever process is assigned to the player. And
Yeah,
then
but if
the
we're doing all of that,
process,
why do we need the separate
Wait,
processes
wait,
then?
wait, 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 wait. Go back and explain from the beginning again, Marinho, please. I lost you in the middle.
like, okay, when a player joins a session, he needs to tell to the decider, hey, I'm joining. Here's my identity. I have this PID that's going to
Okay.
compute my UI, whatever. And then the decider says, okay, player one has this process.
Okay.
And it does that for all the players, right, as they join the game. Then when a player makes an action, that action goes straight to the decider, and the decider either accepts it or rejects it, okay?
Okay.
If the decider accepts the action, it will need to compute a new state, and that
Yes.
state
Which
will need to be partitioned into sections because each player can only see a part of the state, and it needs to be forwarded to the processes assigned to each player so they can say,
we will have to do anyhow.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and then the processes will say, okay, I'm going to compute everything that I can do given this new state and just send that back to the front end, essentially.
Oh, wait a moment. I see now the fusion. So the decider does all the bloated stuff that Mageta was talking about, and the individual processes they compute the available moves now.
Okay, define bloated stuff.
The Well, Mageta is called. Well, what I think Mageta and I are calling bloated stuff. Maybe Mageta will correct me. But what I understand we are calling bloated is the the ability to do an action for all the players, and considering everything, considering all of their hands and all of that,
The decider will
including
need to do that
including the local
regardless.
decisions, including the local decisions, which means, like I said, when you're calling a Richie, you should not have to use anybody else's information, only yours.
Yes, but the decider must do that anyways because it's the source of truth.
Yeah, no,
It must compute the new state, but my point is, and I think that's what Lemos meant, is that it doesn't need to check that it can do a Richie. It can, right? Simple. It just needs to compute the new state where this player is now in Richie.
yeah. So, well, now I'm a little bit confused as well because the decider needs to know if you can do it anyway, right,
Well, you
Mike?
need to get the thing from it, and you need to compute locally, but the decider doesn't need to compute the Richie. It just needs to
Yeah,
update the state
yeah,
that you
that's
are
what
in
I meant.
Richie.
So Mageta is calling bloated, Marinho. Everything that could be done locally. When I say locally, I'm going to define that, which is you can determine a yes or no to a particular question using uh, uh, players dedicated exclusive information. You don't need to look at anything else. Okay, that's it's the semantics what I'm calling local. Mageta is saying that putting local stuff in the decider is bloated. Is that it, Mageta?
Uh, in parts, yes, but I'm not really. Well, it's not really the main concern. But yes, that's true. But my main concern is this. Like, think of it. Let's look at these the def actions that we have here, for example. So where would it go right now to compute the chi? Let's go back to that example.
The
So
capability of doing a chi?
yeah, so it would be something like this, right? So this card computes this.
Wait, I have the answer to your question. In this design, where would that what are my moves calculation would happen? Easy. Either on line 18, so line 18 calculates the action and then after calls a function that calculates the available moves, or in the loop macro in line 32.
So this thing here is the declaring the new state, right? Updating the current hand and the pile
Yeah,
with the new piece.
yeah,
So what we would need to do after we update the pile is to check near here specifically a rule for chi, pon, and kan.
yes,
This.
yeah.
Can someone do a chi, pon, and kan? Well, it's already out of the scope of the player on the action of this player. It's now checking the other player's hands to
Because it
see if they
can.
can do to see if they can because he can to
But
see
the
if they can.
decider wouldn't need to do that.
Who does that then?
The decider only needs to check, okay, a player is trying to do a chi or a can or a pawn. Is that valid? It
No,
doesn't need to
no, 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 no,
generate
no, no.
which
No,
No,
actions.
no, no.
because
That's
you
not what
man
Magetta is talking about. Magetta is talking
because you
about
need
the
how do
available
you
moves.
Yeah, so as I said, the
no
decider will
but
say, okay, this action.
here's the problem that I think we're talking past each other. Who tells who that you can do what? I don't want the front end to know, otherwise Nathan will be re-implementing the game
Yeah,
in
I
reason.
agree. I agree. I agree. Do you understand that point, Manny?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So hear me
So
out. Okay.
go for it.
Okay, so hear me out. The decider takes an action, it accepts the action as valid, it computes the new state, and then it says, okay, I'm not going to bother computing which actions each player can make now.
Mhm.
I'm just going to say, okay, player one, you have this process that's handling your session. Here's the new state. Player two, here's the new state after player four made the action. And then player three, player four. It just says, okay, here's the new state, have fun. And then each player's process says, okay, here's the new state. I need to compute which actions I can make
And
given this new
again,
state.
one thing. When you say process, you're talking front end, right? That's what
No,
you're
no, no, no,
saying.
no, no. No,
No,
that's the
I'm
thing,
saying
Magetta.
I'm saying
He's trying to
process,
keep
not
your
front
idea.
end.
He's trying to keep your idea, Magetta, of having individual players' processes. But he's reverting the order. Instead of players processes
So
first,
everything
decider
goes
later.
first. Okay, so what you're saying is everything goes first to the decider,
Yes.
and then you send the state back to the players. The players
Broadcast it
do
to all
the
of them.
broadcast. The players do check what they can do with
They
the new state,
compute
and then
what
they
each one can
send.
do, and then they
Okay,
send that
I
back.
okay. I think that's better than what I proposed. Yes, I agree.
Well, then let's do it. I'm down for it because the other way, which is what I was about to explain, to do what Magetta said, is to kind of bloat or either the def action macro or the loop macro, and I don't
Yeah,
like
on
that
my
as well.
way, you would have two calls for something that doesn't need to have, right? You
Exactly.
everything.
That's Marinho's point. That's what Marinho was bothered by.
Yeah, okay, I agree. Is that it, Marinho, that you were proposing?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, I like the idea because it keeps the isomorphic representation in the backend with the process with the clients, and it separates the need of us adding a shit ton of checks where they make no sense. Like for example, checking for chi, pon and can should not be a concern of the discard function,
Well,
right? It's
it would
like
never
that.
It
be. It would be a concern of the def
Yeah.
action macro or the loop macro.
No, but wait. I'm talking in the hypothetical scenario where we are doing everything here. So you would need to check here after you calculated this that those actions are now available and send it without the individual units.
Yeah, what I am
Yes.
saying is that that responsibility could be hidden by line 32. You see that line 32 we're calling something called game loop.
Yeah.
What is this function? What is this macro doing? Just incrementing to just doing counterclockwise or clockwise passing of the current player. For now, that's the only thing that it's doing. This, before sending to the HTML, to the HTTP, hey, I have your response, it could calculate that as well. Or what are the available moves for everyone? It could. I'm not recommending it, but it could. So, but I agree with you that in Marinho that the best way to do this is to actually have a dedicated process that will pick, that will for each player understand what is the set of available actions. I agree. But I'm just explaining that
this
this
also,
was doable in here. It would just look bad.
yeah, this also has the benefit, this approach, of the data flow is simpler because it only goes one way, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Magetta's proposal, the handler talks to the player process talks to the decider needs to respond, and then the player process needs to talk back to the front end, right?
Yeah.
The way I'm proposing is saying, okay, the front end talks to the decider, it tries to do an action. The decider talks to the player process. The player process responds to the front end, and then the player thinks and decides to do something else.
Yeah. Okay, so just for visualization purposes, Mageta, look at line 48 there. This is what
40.
we're doing at the end phase of your turn, if using Yu-Gi-Oh terms. At the end of your phase, at the end of your turn, right now there's only one phase thing, which is inform the HTTP guy that everything went fine, we are good, and increment the player current player counter so we know who is supposed to be playing next. That's it. That's the only thing that the end phase does. And if we wanted to keep this design, we could put the calculation of the available moves in line 48 as well. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but this will grow indefinitely, man.
Oh yeah, it would look
Because
terrible.
because here's the thing, like you would need to receive right from the call. Yeah, you would need to receive from the state what was the last action that was performed, and then decide here what you do, right? Oh, this then if it was a discard, then check for chi pon can.
Yeah,
If it was a actually not only that, if it's a discard, you need to check chi pon can, ron, uh, a bunch of other like
yeah. It would
uh
look very bad.
yakus. Uh,
Yeah, it would be
okay,
very
so let's
terrible.
make
But I'm
one of
glad
these.
we managed to make a decision. So now let's what we're gonna do.
No
Should we
pun
start
intended.
with the decider now?
Let's do. I mean, the decider is already the play, right? From what I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, exactly.
So what we do here is this. So player.
Okay, first things first. Do you think it makes sense to have Mnesia?
For the table storage, maybe. Actually, no, because we can already store here.
Yeah,
So maybe
state is
not.
already a big map. You can scroll up if you want to see it. By the way,
Uh,
there is
Oh,
a
yeah,
big
that's
map
the
there.
yeah, this.
No,
This
this is a
is. Oh,
player.
no, this is the player. Give me a
Initial
sec.
game.
Wait. Give me a moment.
That line 30 is bothering me. Is it bothering you, Marinho?
line 30.
Yeah. Why did you
Why?
do it like that? Well, you don't see a problem with that?
Well, it could be a let instead of a let star.
Well, that's also true, but I was not talking about that.
Well, I suppose you could pull out the call to initial wall into the thread.
Exactly, man.
Okay. So
The initial game is the entire state, Magit. Line 29.
the initial game is the entire state. So
So we say
player
that the current
wall.
player is 1, we have a wall, and we have the player's hands.
I see.
Well, not only hands, we have their discard pile, Yakuhan, stick deposit, and we already shuffled the wall. So, and we already distributed the hands, which is cool.
Okay. So I'm thinking here like we need to keep to spawn four players, right? On demand. So
Actually, that's a
thinking of
good
like
question. Who is spawning those?
yes, that's my point. I think somebody should be able to make a room and then think of the front end. Like think of Lyceum, more or less like that.
Yeah, I
Actually, no,
imagine the
Lyceum is
same.
a bit different. It's a bit different because you would spawn a session, right? So in Lyceum, there's always a session, which is the global
Yeah,
game, right?
yeah,
But you would have a room that is created by one player. We don't need to keep association of which player created. That doesn't matter.
yeah.
So you create a room and you are automatically put in it, right? Um, and then other players join in that room. You click start, and then the game starts. And then when each player join, you spawn a process here. So it's the room creation, right? So it's the second handler essentially. So let's go to that. So it is on session. Is that it?
Mhm.
So this guy, is this working by the way?
Yes, it is. You can try it.
Let me just check here. So if I call here, is that game? The
Did
thing?
you change the route on
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Oops, not this.
the
Server,
server app?
right? It's slash. Okay, is that working? Actually, we're doing here, right? So we're calling the old one, no?
No, you're
Oh no,
calling the new one.
that's just a session, yes.
Yeah, this is the new. This is
So
the new one. Yeah, it's working. It's that one.
okay.
Damn, are you okay, Mageta?
I've been coughing for a month, man. I
Well,
hope
I've
I
been
don't have
coughing for
like
six. Do you wanna compete?
yeah. Do you wanna compete? No, thank you. I think you can win that. I'm fine.
uh, yeah.
So here, each player. Let's make a. Let me think.
Well, then we go back to the original problem after you came back from dinner. We spawn processes. Nice. Uh,
So
who
let's
I was
do
gonna
a
store
hack.
them? Then you said
Yeah, let's
nobody.
do a hack of. You already have a room, okay? Uh, so you start with a fake. I think man using Amnesia here might help actually.
Well, we need to add a dependency. I don't
Uh,
remember how.
well, I don't need to add the dependency, right? It's already
It's already
Yeah,
OTP.
here.
Minija's part of the OTP, no?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. I mean, I am an ignorant. My bad. I didn't know that.
Ignoranto. Ignoranto.
Yeah.
So let's pass here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just pass
thing
storage.
room storage.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
a thing?
yeah. No, storage. I'm not saying in technical terms. I'm not Benny. Storage, I mean miniature storage.
Let me think here. Because here's what I want to do. I want to make a fixed room with a tag that we can access. And then, but that doesn't work. We need to know what are the players in the room, right? So, but here's what I mean. Like to spawn the, we can do that here. So spawn the fun player. Yeah, that's going to be it. Room, I guess. Uh, Number. I don't know. Actually, the current player could be the ID, right? Could be the PID.
I don't
So
know. The current player is just at four numbers, my friend. Can we make a
yes,
PID with
but
four numbers?
yeah, my point is you can put a PID in the list, right? Oh, sorry, not list. In each instead of the number, you can put the PID there,
Oh,
right?
but then that's gonna fuck up the next player function.
You can just map a PID to the number
Yeah, like a
using literally a map.
well, I would say tuples, but okay,
No, it's a list of tuples, right? We have four
a list
players,
of tuples.
which is a map.
A list. Why would you do a list of tuples when Erlang has maps?
Aye,
Anyway,
aye.
the next player function, Magetta, that is assuming that we
So
have one, two, three, four.
okay, so this guy here, and it will spawn one of these, right? And this guy keeps in a loop, like a good guy receive. And how do I pattern match again? Oh, like that. So
Yeah.
this, and then we pass a tuple, uh, and what are the things that it can receive the player? That is, um, let's think of how to organize this. So this is like the process representing the player, right? So you can receive things like to check a chi, for example. So let's do that.
Wait. No. Wait. I thought we were talking about creating a process for dedicated players. This is not what we're doing.
This is a process for a dedicated player.
No, not dedicated. I mean creating a dedicated player.
What do you mean? This will be like player one, two, three, four.
No, but if that's it, just copy what's below, right? A particular player can discard, it can draw, it can do Ricci, it can open
No,
the
no, no. But
hand.
man, here these are the actions that the handler sends directly to the decider, right?
Yes.
These are the
No,
actions that this guy sends to the player. This is not the player. This is like the process
Hmm.
for the. This is not receiving commands
Well,
like
technically, the player wouldn't receive actions. It would receive
a state.
a portion of the state. Yeah.
yes, exactly. This is it.
Oh, so just you don't need to do pattern matching. Just receive anything, call it the state, and then now we need to
Yeah,
dismember
but
pieces
I
of the
wanted
state.
to send we who you are. Actually, okay, you can send whatever in a map. So these parents, whatever, right?
No, but why do
Uh,
why do we need to pattern match on she? That's kind of my thing. Like let's roll back a little bit. Didn't Marinho
wait.
propose?
Let me think. Let me think. Wait.
Okay.
If you are doing this, then that means that you are enforcing this guy to check which things you can do and which things you cannot do, right? So that's better not be done. Okay, so I don't think we should do that here. I agree. But we should still. Man, this is not a process. This is just a function call. If that's the case.
Um,
Could be a message send, but yeah, it could just be a function call as well.
Wait, but then the decider calls this at the end every time.
Oh, if we're not going to do a receive of anything, then yes, right?
No,
It's
but we
just that.
could receive the state instead of receiving as an argument. That's what I kind of like.
Could receive the
Let's
state.
define this. Are we gonna make players the calculation of the available moves? Is that gonna be a separate process or is that gonna be a separate function? Let's decide that right now.
I think
Well,
it should be a process to always be live on the room.
Okay, so if that's the case, we don't receive state in line 10, and we receive state coming from
Because
the passage
why?
passing.
Why? Let me explain why I said that. Because I think we need a process representation of who are the clients connected right now.
Okay, Marinho, what do you think?
Because these are the things that will send the response back, right?
Yes, yes. Oh, if that's the case, okay, I actually have an idea. Marinho, what's your opinion?
Actually, they won't send the response back necessarily. They will.
They send, well, from what I
They need
understood,
to.
they send
They need to,
possibilities
Marinho.
of actions and they
Yeah,
notify the front end of what
yeah, they need
you
to.
can
Yes,
do.
but that's not a response. That's a push.
That's a okay. That's a call request, whatever.
No, 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 no. It's a push to the front end. It cannot be a response because then
I
that
get
will
it, because
force the
it's not
front
on the
end to
front end
do.
that's making the action. I get it, Marin.
Yeah,
It's
no, no, no,
the
no, no,
it's
no. It's because it will force the front end to do polling if you do this as a response.
What?
what
What?
I
If
man.
look, if
I'll repeat what I mean when I say this. This guy makes a
Ah,
request, send it back to the front end,
yeah,
webhook,
but no,
whatever.
no, no, no. But
how
it needs to be pooling. Okay, let me try, Marinho. Magetta, why it needs to be pooling? Because when you do an action, I should receive available actions depending on your action. Agree?
When who are you
You
exactly?
are player one. I am player three. Okay?
Yes.
You do something, and immediately after you did something, I have an available action to me. The only way the front end is going to be able to change itself is by pulling the back end, because the response is only to you.
And how does this relate to this exactly? Like I didn't. Okay, I don't know how we're going to send to the front end to begin with. I have no idea of how to do that. If it's via webhooks or anything, I don't know. So
it will
Okay.
be probably SSE actually.
Well, I don't know web. You guys are web developers. I'm not. I don't know what was the best way of doing that.
no, man, I don't get what's the
No,
okay, what's the thing that I said that is wrong? I don't understand.
no. I That's not. Nobody's saying that. I'm just trying to explain Marinho's point. Marinho said that this player function or process should not do the response. And why is he saying that?
Okay, what is a response? Okay, explain that. What's a response?
It's an HTTP response.
Yes,
Yeah.
I not claiming this is not a response coming from the client. I agree. It's just a list of actions that you can do X.
Okay. So if that's the case, we are back to the original question: should this be a process or a function? If this is a process, we don't receive anything as an argument in line 10, and then we receive state.
Actually, we probably
Probably what?
actually we probably should have the state as an argument because here's the thing. What if the player loses connection momentarily and reconnects, or if refreshes the page or whatever, right?
Okay. Then.
Do you want to have to go back to the decider to say, hey, I lost connection. Can you send me the latest copy of the state again?
Uh,
I mean, to be fair, we can do that, but do you want to?
but what does that relate at all with having an argument in line 12?
If you have an argument in line 12, that means you have a local state to the process, which is a replica of the state in the decider. Well, the latest state that the decider sends to this particular player.
Ah, I see what you're saying.
So you don't
We're,
have to bother the decider if you have a copy of the latest state in that
uh,
case.
okay, so line 12 we receive a backup, and we do a receive on 14 of the latest, Marin.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, Mageta, do you follow that?
Not paying attention. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Command. Uh,
Damn, is that all of the things we're gonna have to put in the
Just
state?
thinking, it doesn't need to be there. It can be other places. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
These. So you will get 2 man. This is what I meant when I said this. 2 man, because I think Marin got hang on the word I used. 2 man, 3 man, 1 ping, whatever. There's more pieces. Whatever. Last command was a discard. Last player was 1. And I am player 2. Return can make Chi.
Okay. So let me first explain what we were talking while you're writing that. So here's what we're gonna do. This function will be a process, which means that we're gonna have a receive in line 13. So that's fine. What are we gonna be receiving? The latest state from the decider's process. The decider will be the one communicating with us. Is that fine until now?
Decider is the one communicating. Okay, I have question. Okay, I have judgments to make about that, but go on.
And then on line 12, we're going to receive the latest. We're going to be calling ourselves. This is going to be a process that's going to be tail recursive to itself. What are going to be our arguments? The latest state that we have received. Because as Marin was explained, if you refresh the page, the player process will still have a backup state that we can show you something. We can send something to the front end later. So we're going to have as an argument the previous received state from the decider. And in the receive, in line 13, we're going to be receiving the latest. And then in the latest state, we're going to be slicing it, maybe. Or I don't know, Marinho, do you prefer having the state already sliced, or do you prefer slicing it yourself?
It's probably better to slice it before sending it from the decider because
Okay.
that's a smaller message, basically.
Okay. So we're going to receive in line 14 a state already sliced to our player. So it's going to have your hand as you put it there. We don't record the latest command. We're going to have to add that. We can deduce the last player, and we can also know who am I. And then based on that set of information, we can calculate the available combinations of moves that you can do. Does that make sense, Magita? Did I drop?
No, on here.
And that's essentially it, man. That's essentially it.
There's still no. I mean, in this framework, there's still no explanation why this is a process.
It could be. It could. Let me think a little bit. Well, the only reason this would be a process is because then we would have the benefit of having a backup state, right, Marinho?
Hmm.
That's the only benefit that I can see.
Do we actually need that, though?
Well,
It's already on the decider, right? So why would you need that?
yeah, that's
Yeah, this can probably just be a function, to be honest.
yeah.
The only advantage, really, the only advantage I see here is to just use the syntax to send a message. That's it.
Which I hate in LFA because it makes the operator as a function. Okay, so let's make this a function. Let's make this a function.
Then at the end of every turn, you check all the possible things that each player can do, send it back.
Yeah. And then you send that back. Well, we still have to figure out what we're gonna do about the webhooks or the pool.
I have zero idea what to do with that.
I also don't.
Um,
But then it comes the second question. What do you prefer, Magita? Do you prefer,
Here.
how can I say? The question that I asked Marinho. Who's gonna do the chop chop? Is that gonna be done by the decider or here?
who's gonna do the chop chop?
Yeah, because the
Oh,
state is
divide
huge.
divide the states. Okay.
Yeah, the state is huge.
Uh,
We don't need all of it to make the available moves for a player. So who is gonna chop it? The decided or here?
Also,
I
the player
mean,
shouldn't be able to see the entire state anyways.
that I still don't see as a problem. It's just a function call, man.
Yeah, I don't see that as a problem in this regard as well, Mani. Uh, it's
Well, if
because go on, Mani.
if it's just a function call, then it actually doesn't matter where we do the slide.
Exactly.
No, yeah, no. It's because if we're gonna do the chop chop on the decider, we can not do that now. Or if you do it here, we can already have stuff to do. We can already write code.
So let's do this because then we don't have to write code. There we go.
Okay, I like
So
that. I like that. That's the most baguette answer I've ever heard of it.
so on the disclosure, which is these, right? So success next state, is that it?
Yeah, this is
Oh, actually,
where
you sending.
yeah, this is sending to the HTTP handler.
Mm-hmm.
It's informing it that we finished.
Okay, so in this case, we are going to.
Yeah,
Can
we got
okay. I found something silly, but can we do this on the HTTP handler then? And the answer is, I think yes, we
yes, you
can.
can.
But
You
we can do it.
definitely can.
But we can also do it here, right?
Well, but then it's gonna
Before.
go to that situation that we discussed earlier about being like it's gonna look ugly because we're gonna have. Well, I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna look. I'm not gonna try to think like that right now. Yeah, but this is a macro, Mageta.
Yeah,
We
yeah. I
should make a
just need.
function separately to calculate the moves and just call it in here. Agree?
I mean, I can make a prog in evolve the function inside of the macro. That's very true. Or I can do this call to the player on the
On the HTTP handler.
yes.
It's
But
your call,
still,
man.
but still one thing here that might sustain the idea of this being a service, which may make it easy because then you can call this from anywhere. Um, well, actually, you can call this from anywhere. But
Already.
in one case, you don't need to handle this. Yeah, forget about that. So anyway, um, you would need an entity telling you who is in which room, right?
Who
Which is the table.
is in which room? Do you mean like assuming you have multiple rooms?
Yeah,
Well, that's a new premise to the whole thought process. I was not considering multiple rooms right now. What about them? Go on.
because then you would need one process per room, right?
Yeah,
One play, I mean.
yeah, one decider per room.
Can't we like make one play and then four players, processors alongside the room?
Why
Like in a
not?
group of processors? Because
Yeah,
then if
we can.
like we spawn all of them as children of this process, right? The room. And then if you kill the room, then everyone dies. It's all grouped together.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But then we go back to the question that you were asking yourself before. What is the reason that we're gonna have the player in line 12 as a process instead of a
Yeah, the
function?
players still has no reason to be a processor.
It needs to be a process because it needs to constantly broadcast the updates back to the front end.
That's a reason.
Wait,
That
the
sounds like a reason.
player.
Well,
If you're saying the player, then you are saying the opposite of what you said a half an hour ago, man.
no, I mean, the decider needs to say, okay, here's the new state, and then you need to call a function to say, okay, player one, you can see this state, player two can see this, player three, player four, blah blah blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then that function needs to compute whatever actions the player can make, and also make some data structure to tell back to the front end saying, hey, here's your hand, here's the actions you can make, whatever, right? But then that needs to reach the front end somehow, right?
Yes.
Um, and in particular, if player one does something, it may affect what players 2, 3, and 4 can do. So it actually needs to be broadcast to all the players, right?
Yeah.
Which means there must be a persistent connection to the front end, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, if we just
One
rely on
caveat though. One caveat though. It can only affect what other players can do after they send a command, right? So let's suppose that you are processing something right now. Uh, let's use the can example, right? So you can steal a can. Did you guys remember
Yeah.
that example? So imagine I can make a chi and you are making a can. I
Mhm.
can rob your can and make a chi myself, right? So that can only happen in the next command, right? So let's suppose that I processed here and I said, oh, I can make a can. There's no way right now that other players, that the player on the right, that is, of me, will be able to tell that I'm making a can already. Does that make sense?
well, yes, but the can is now possible because somebody else did something. A player discarded a piece, right?
Yeah, on the last turn, which it has not changed yet, right? Actually,
Actually, let's not use the can as an example. Let's use the pawn because that can be done by anybody on the table, right?
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
just the next
yeah,
player.
yeah. So Mageta, I think Marinho's point is that after you do an action, even like because I think your concern is that the caveat that you're bringing up is that an action, a command needs to be executed in order for all of these side effects happen. Marinho is agreeing with that sentence, but he's saying that doing a completion of a command of a particular player may affect the what
Everybody else on the table.
everybody else on the table is able to do. So that's why he brought up pooling, because that means that, for example, if you discard something and it's not, I'm not the next player, okay? I am the opposite on the table to you, so I'm not the next one. I can do a pawn because you discarded that. What that
I do. Then my turn gets skipped because someone else did it.
exactly?
But how
But
would Lemos know that he can do a pawn if there's no broadcast mechanism to the front end?
He knows that on the next turn,
How if
on the
but it's
next
not my, but
handle
I'm not
call.
the next one. We need a way that everybody can talk to the front end. Essentially, that's what my Marinho is calling broadcast to the front end. We need a mechanism that after each action of a particular player, everyone gets a response.
And everyone does. I'll explain how I see. Drawing again. These guys, player 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? They're all sending commands and they all send something.
Okay.
Then the decider decided, so it was a discard of player 1. Anyone now can do a pawn. Fine, discard, send it back with the actions saying can call pawn. Everyone will have it apart from player 1, obviously. So player 2, 3, and 4 will have a flag saying can call pawn. Do they choose to call pawn?
no, 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 no.
Two of them do. Send it back. Decider decides again.
That's missing the point. The problem is that that handler is an HTTP handler, right?
It doesn't work like that, Mageta. It only works like a one-to-one relation. So player one is talking to me. I'm going to respond to player one. We need another mechanism to do the other everyone
Oh, just
else.
make one person send everything. One thing on the client. Send for everyone.
Well, but how I'm going to see on my screen? I have a different connection, and because it's an
Ah, yes,
HTTP
because
handler,
it can be there.
are
You
you
can be
playing for
different
everyone,
clients.
Magenta?
Yeah, no. It can be for multiple people. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I think that was a huge thing. So, uh, that's my news concern. That we have an HTTP handler, which means that it's a one-to-one thing.
Then we
If
go back to my point, which is one process per each handling isomorphically the
But
clients.
Marinho is trying to defend that because we were about to remove it by making it a function. Marinho was just saying, like, we were asking ourselves, what is the reason we will make this a process instead of a function? And you and I were having a hard time, my friend. And then Marinho said that the reason is because that's going to be the mechanism that will allow us to solve this particular problem. Does that make sense now?
Ah, I ain't giving up for today.
Yeah, multiplayer is hard no matter what.
I'm gonna finish the
I'm giving
recording.
up for today.